last today is Yogi Dewan from Hassium will be chairing a talk with our panel. We have Sanjeev Shah from Sun Global Investments, who's done a lot of work with Asia. Paul Robinson, who is President of International for A Squared Elixir, but was former head of strategy at the BBC and has worked in hundreds of countries. I don't even know how many. Sabila Din, and Sabila's worked all over the world, including Hong Kong. Vijay Patel, an extremely clever businessman who'll give us his insights. And he's just opened a hospital in India, haven't you, Vijay? Vijay? I'm talking to you. And then we have Salim Sheikh, who is senior partner at GSC Solicitors and works with many big Indian families. So if I can invite Yogi to start the discussion. Thank you.
So today the idea here is that we have five very knowledgeable opinion leaders in our industry, and I think that's fair to say, particularly when it comes to dealing with Asians or the Asian countries that we've been referring to or talking about. I, for one, have always struggled to do business in Asia. It's a long way away, for one reason. I think family dynamics become particularly important within the Asian communities and how they interact with you from a professional perspective. Culture, language are all big issues. Also bureaucracy, I find quite a difficult thing to deal with. The delays, hugely frustrating, and that's always made me err on the side of caution. So what we thought would be really useful today would be to tap into 5 different views, 5 different perspectives on dealing with some of these types of issues. And I thought we should really kick off by asking each of the panel members just to talk about 2 or 3 points that they feel would be relevant when it comes to dealing with Asians in Asia and how we could tap into that 80% growth from a GDP perspective relative to the global growth that's going out there, and we can tap into that market in order to do well. So I'm going to start with you, Salim, and just ask if you could just make a few comments about your own experiences.
I've been working with Asians, both in the UK and internationally, for the best part of 30 years of my professional career. I think you said challenging working with Asians. Being an Asian myself, I would have to agree. You have to be alive to the idiosyncrasies. The 2 themes I would pick up on, Yogi, I think you've referred to them. One is the joint family business. Obviously, you have at the very high end the huge public companies, but the mainstay of the market is family-owned businesses. And the concept of brothers, several brothers, their children, their grandchildren coming into the businesses, and how that works in terms of dynamics. I think that's very important, because to identify how decision-making works, how the succession is running through, the tensions that often arise, particularly with first and second generation members of the family.
My background is very different from my friend there and here. I'm an entrepreneur who has worked globally. So, you know, it would perhaps be better, instead of telling you or repeating what these 2 gentlemen said, because I'm an Indian, and what I concur with everything he has said about dealing with Asian business, because that's exactly how they operate, as they have said. But if you have any questions, I hope Karen doesn't mind. It would be better for us to take that and answer any specific questions you may have about Indian or Asian business, which these gentlemen haven't covered now. You know, because I actually I'm not in the service industry. I'm a businessman who has built businesses working not only in Asia but globally. And I've come across every type of community to do business with. So I'll be able to answer most questions about types of people you'd come across in most of these countries.
Vijay,
So,
what about
Tim?
just touching on what you found to be the most difficult aspect of doing business in
Trust.
Asia? Trust.
They will not trust you to start with. You got to build trust with Asians. The first meeting will be... One thing, they're very cordial, very polite. I'm sure you've come across that. But they will not trust you till they see some quite hard evidence that you have delivered. And you know, a lot of stuff goes by recommendation. Correct me if I'm wrong. If my family has done business with your family or your friend, then the recommendation goes a long, long way.
So the first element I'm talking about is the strategic side of how, as a business, you enter the market. Very bluntly put, find cover. Find cover from another Asian country. That's what I've done. I found the cover of Singapore, where I have a lot of long-term relationships, and I've entered the market through contacts, trade and industry contacts that I've built over a long term. China, I would never do it on my own. I'd do it on the back of Hong Kong. Far more protection you have if you do it through Hong Kong and you do a JV with a Hong Kong partner.
A few points I'd make. I think relationships been mentioned already, but I'd absolutely underline that. I mean, relationships are very important, as is status. So when you go, you do need to make sure that your group of people or the number of people in your delegation match those of people you're meeting. If your delegation is very junior compared to those you're meeting, they will take a view on that, particularly the Chinese. So you need to be aware of that. Sociability has been talked about too. It's not just about doing business. You need to make sure you do plenty of eating, plenty of socializing. If you're invited into homes, that's fantastic. Spend time getting to know the people you're doing business with, and certainly don't jump into trying to do a deal straight away.
The upside and the positive element is that they don't have that much respect for credentials, in the sense that, I mean, they want you to have the credentials in terms of education and a good calling card, but that only gets you in. What really counts is performance. And the upside is, if you can perform, if you can show performance for some period of time, then what you'll find is the referrals will follow and you'll get admitted into the network, and that can really have a big upside. So to summarize, very difficult inside India, but the Indian diaspora is also very big. A lot of patience, a lot of hard work at the beginning, willingness to do a lot of things which you probably wouldn't expect to do, but once you do and you perform, the rewards do tend to come through eventually.